At last, I have Carmelo. Thank you very much for doing this. First of all, this has been an awesome tour. I want to thank you very much. How long have you been working with EF?
Well, now it's 15 years.
15 years.
Time go fast.
That's awesome. I mean, so you've been, and you're wrapping up your master's in economics right now, right?
Yes.
And so have you kind of been traveling the world and then taking a break and doing an education and then traveling more, or how's that
Yeah,
work?
I grew up traveling with my family. Then I started traveling on my own with my backpack all around Europe. When I was at high school, every summer I spent at least 1 month of my vacation traveling around Europe with my backpack using trains. We have lots of trains cars that people that is under 21 can use in Europe. And then when I was at college as well, 1 month a year traveling around. So I've been traveling for about 25 years. Then I got my degree, and I was a very well experienced travelers and somebody who knows something about economics, because when you get your degree, you still didn't experience nothing.
Right.
So I decided to do something. When I was looking for a job, I started with EF, like a summer job when you're looking for something just part time.
Yeah.
So I did 1, 2, 3 tours because I was very well experienced as a traveler, and then I loved it,
Yeah, I
and it
bet.
became my full-time job.
How many languages do you speak?
English, French, and Italian.
So, as someone who this being from America, I'm fascinated by someone who grows up in Europe, having all the countries so close together and everybody speaking different languages. I mean, it seems like inevitable that you would at least be speaking 3 languages just growing up because you're going to be traveling around. Is that kind of, did you, when you learned,
Well,
like, say, French, did you learn just because you kind of went there and had to, or?
Americans move around much more than Europeans.
Oh, okay, got it.
Europeans don't even move from a town to another town. You born in Rome, you grow up in Rome, you will work in Rome, you will die in Rome. Yeah. So moving from Rome to Milan, staying in Italy is a big change for an Italian and Europeans as well. They don't really move that much. They don't leave their family, they don't leave their town. So there's not that many Europeans who move around Europe.
Gotcha. Gotcha.
Being a traveler for me was not that normal. There's not a big number of people who really travel or that move and change, so they need another language. You go to France, but then you spend a week and then you go back. You just use your English. So it's not that obvious. It's why there are many people. I mean, there are few people who speak more than one language. Everybody speak English because they learn at school. That's it.
Right, right. So, on this, we were on the bus. I think we were going to or we were going to goodness, what was the wonderful beach town that we went to with the cliffs?
Sorrento.
Sorrento. We were on the way to Sorrento, and you had a list of you played a fun game with us about stereotypes, about like, you know, stereotypes of Americans from European, or I guess specifically an Italian's point of view, and then vice versa. And I know that people who are going to be watching this are going to be mainly in America, and I personally find it fascinating, the stereotypes of Americans from a European point of view. I wonder if we could sort of revisit that conversation, and you could speak a little bit to what these stereotypes of Americans are.
From an Italian point of
From an
view,
Italian point
well,
of view,
yeah, as we said, this is of course stereotypes from people that have never been to the States. Any stereotype usually is from people that never deal with real people. So we mentioned the fact that we all imagine Americans wearing cowboy boots and cowboy hats, driving big cars like Cadillac, but outside of the city riding horses, eating almost nothing but hot dogs, popcorn, and Pepsi, drinking beer even at breakfast. That is true. Being have a muscular build like Arnold Schwarzenegger or Sylvester Stallone. The women are blonde, tall, blue eyes like Pamela Anderson. Also because we all watch American movies or series. So we Baywatch when I was young. Movies where we see Americans and stereotypes. So we imagine that. We imagine John Wayne, the cowboys. We imagine what we see, of course, on TV. What we said talking about stereotypes. We imagine Americans living both in skyscrapers or on a farm. Being rich Americans, there is a very famous song in Italy that say "Tu vuoi fare l'americano," like you act like you are an American, like when you look like more rich than what you are. You spend too much money because another big stereotype of Americans that they are rich. Because of course, if you are in Europe, you deal with people that is traveling from US to Europe.
Right.
Of course, you cannot be
right. Those people are
of course, you have to have some money.
Yes.
And if you travel so far, even if an Italian travel to US and go to LA, you have some money to spend, or you wouldn't spend so much to go to US. And of course, if you go so far, you bring with you some money that you want to spend.
Yes.
So a tourist in general that's come from a far country, of course, is one that spend money because you have money, of course, if you go so far. So the stereotype becomes that Americans are very rich. When a girl dream of a rich wed marriage, she think like, well, she look for an American, because why don't you look for an American, like a rich person? Americans rich, even if of course you have everybody, people, rich people.
So what about if we flip the script a little bit before we get to Italians specifically? I take it you've led a lot of American tours, right?
Yes.
From Americans coming to Europe. When Americans come, what sort of stereotypes do they carry with them that you feel like you need to dispel?
There are many, and some of them are very fun. But the most common is that we are strictly Catholics. But if I work, sometimes Americans ask me to go to a church on Sunday because it's Sunday and they want to go to a service. It doesn't matter what we have to do. It never happened with Italians. Nobody asked me that they have to go to the church on Sunday because it's Sunday. So sometimes Americans are more strict than Italians.
Right.
They imagine big families. Apparently, the average today is 1.20 child per family in Italy. So, well, if you have 2 children, you have a big family today. I've never heard about friends of mine that have 4, 5 children. You would be on the newspaper today. There's another stereotype: big families. Mama boys. That's a very good one. That is very true. Many people have a stereotype of Italian. Don't know why. Italians pinching American women.
Yes,
and they even get disappointed.
That is.
How many Americans told me, Carmelo, why nobody pinched me? I have to do that sometimes.
That is one I have heard actually a lot as an American not. This is my first time to Europe, so that was interesting. But you'll hear, oh yeah, if you're in Italy and you're a woman, better look out because they're gonna grab you.
Yeah.
That's interesting. That's interesting. So
Mafia is a big stereotype. You
That's
have pasta, wine. This is usually the stereotype you have because you get in touch with Italians usually in an Italian restaurant when you go to eat Italian food. So there, your stereotypes come from Jersey Shore and Italian restaurants where you go to eat.
yes, yes. So when you went to America, let's talk about food for a second. When you went to America as an Italian and you eat Italian American food, what's the main difference? I mean, first of all, do you find anything that's truly authentically Italian when you go to America? Can you find it? Even in the city, like the...
I personally I didn't find it because I didn't look for it.
Yeah, sure, right. You want to eat American when you go there.
Yeah, I forget Italian when I don't want to eat Italian. So I didn't look for it. But I'm sure that many Italians do because a very good stereotype about Italians that is when I have to deal with when I work with Italians abroad, they want their food.
Oh, okay.
They look for Italian restaurants. It's a shame from my point of view because, as I told you many times, when you are abroad, you have to explore, you have to visit the country, also eating food. So I have seen many Italian restaurants in the US, but I never entered. I've heard about typical dishes that you find in any Italian restaurant in US that we don't have it here. Like spaghetti with meatballs, like pasta with chicken.
Oh, okay.
I have heard about this stuff that we never eat.
Yeah.
Cheesecake. No, we don't have cheesecake.
Really? No.
I mean, now we have everything. You can.
Sure.
It's nothing to do with Italy.
That's interesting.
Cheesecake for us is English. It's something that you usually eat when you go in Northern Europe.
Also, when we were on the highway, you were particularly in Italy. You were talking about American influence, particularly business-wise, and with the malls and the stuff like that.
I call it like Americanization.
Yeah, could you talk
of
a
the
little
society.
bit about that?
America is big and it's influential because you know how to sell your stuff, you know how to manage a company, you know marketing, you know how to be big, to expand, and to arrive everywhere. And it influences our society as well, also because we are always under the spotlight, and Italians love Americans. Another very good stereotype about Italians is that we love Americans. You think that maybe you are hated, but it's not true. I mean, I could wave an American flag in Italy instead of mine, and nobody will tell me anything. Nobody will think that I'm stupid or that I put that flag up. No, not at all. So it's not true. People love you, or sometimes, well, they don't care. Like I don't know. Sure. Americans can be like anybody else, but for sure they don't. Nobody hates you. Our Italians are influenced by Americans. And we have a sort of Americanization where we have more and more pubs that didn't existed when I was a teenager.
Interesting. So just
I went to my first pub when I was 16 abroad, not in Italy. Shopping mall. This is something new that we see now. They are all new. Beer, even at breakfast. well, drinking more in general.
Sure.
I'm sure that in few years you will be asked a passport even in Italy, because the number of people who is drinking more is growing.
Right.
So the typical family-run business we had in Italy, the grocery, the bakery, the fruit vendors are slowly going out of business because people go in this huge place where they have many more opportunity and better prices. Um, well, yeah, there are many things that
Yeah.
change. The society has always been changing.
What about
We don't wear togas and sandals anymore.
No
So
togas?
yeah, no anymore. No
So
gladiators.
you're touching on an interesting subject, particularly in the drinking, with sort of the excess, maybe that because we kind of had a conversation, or you talked to the group about, you know, in Italy, a 12-year-old kid can walk into a bar if they want to, and it's not an issue because there's not really a culture of excess, and I'm talking specifically
Sure.
about drinking right now. Whereas in America, and I'm getting the impression anyway, I don't want to put words in your mouth, but I'm getting the impression that your experience of Americans, and of course my experience of Americans, I would confirm, is sort of a culture of excess. In other words, they want to get drunk, they want to drink, and that's kind of, you know, that's a big difference. Would you agree with that between?
Drinking wise, there's a big difference. Americans share this kind of cultural aspects with Northern Europeans, though.
Oh, okay.
English in particular. In England, I I've experienced the same kind of behavior. So I would divide the Europe in North and South.
Interesting. Okay.
And I strongly believe that these depend on temperature, climate, the weather. So in the north, it's always cold. You have to stay indoor. Indoor, what do? You are much more tempted to drink. I'm talking about an origin, huh? Something that creates a lifestyle.
Right.
It's cold, you drink more. In the south, it's always warm, and you are always looking for something refreshing. More than a glass of wine, you look for an orange juice, a
Right.
cold orange juice. This is why, in my opinion, in the south people drink less. Things are changing though.
Yeah, right.
People get drunk even here.
Right.
But you can still see a big difference in the attitude with American teenagers that go on vacation and they are drunk every single day at night. Italians are still always they drink alcohol while they are having the meal. This is a difference that will change. I'm sure about that because I can see the trend.
Right.
So it's just different now, but we will get closer and closer and closer.
Kind of, sort of, somewhat similar, related. What about attitudes towards sexuality?
I don't think that there is a difference that I had noticed dealing with Americans, couples, old couples, teenagers, college students. I really don't see that. I didn't see any difference. I mean, people is different,
Right.
but in terms of society, in terms of groups, I really didn't see any aspect. The Italian society is a society that maybe was a little bit more traditional, a little bit more in the past, but not anymore. I don't think that today there is any difference. The society is very open. People live together even if they are not married. People plan the number of their children. It's a society as open as US. Then even in US, you could have some community that is different from others. Big cities, of course, are big cities. A small town on the Midwest maybe will be different from Chicago.
Yeah.
Just to make an example.
Right.
But even in the same big cities, there could be different people, different families living in a different way. But in general, I never noticed. I noticed the society in general change, of course, day by day. Is more and more open. There's more and more freedom. There's more and more teenagers that let's say start very early. More freedom in general, but that regard both societies. There is an opening that regard many different aspects of sexuality. In these days, for example, we always think about homosexuality. We are getting more and more open. In US, I guess that you can even marry.
Yes, that's a recent thing.
In Italy, where we have a strong influence from the church, we are not there yet, but we are that close. We just got a new law about the fact that the people from the same sex can be considered a couple. They can go to the public offices and be registered a couple. So it's an opening process that regards both communities. I don't think that there are a specific difference. I mean, in other words, if an Italian deal with an American girl or an Italian girl, there will not be any difference.
Interesting. Okay, last topic. Let's have some fun. As you know, we're having a very interesting political season in America, and we have some interesting candidates. So I'd like to sort of take this from a couple of different angles. First of all, your personal opinion about how you perceive the American political process and what we're doing right now, and of the people that you talk to, other Europeans. If you could maybe generalize a little bit about when you talk to Europeans about their perception of our current process and what's going on, because we're entering into a new era. A lot of Americans feel over there with people are very tired of what they perceive as a bureaucracy over there, and I think that kind of, in a general way, explains the popularity of someone like Trump right now. And if you could talk about that a little bit, that'd be great.
I think that you are experiencing a moment that Italians already did.
Oh, okay.
People sometimes feel tired of politics in general because they don't feel like they work for the country, they work for people. And there's a little bit of frustration, and sometimes people just want to vote to protest more than vote for somebody. It's what just happened in Italy with special people, strange people, like a comedian that's got 30% of the votes in the parliament and could be very close to leading the country. People don't really want to vote for him. People don't want to vote for the others, for the people that's always got the power, left or right. In US, the Democrats and the Republicans. So we are having strange candidates. I think that we also had ours with Mr. Berlusconi. Everybody, he had a strange personality. He was a billionaire. He was the owner of many important and strategic companies in Italy, including almost all the medias.
Oh, he was a big media owner, huh?
He had the most important medias, the most important journals, and the most important medias. So in Italy, you had the national channel, like 1, 2, and 3, owned by the government. Let's see, managed by the government, where the people who rule are chosen by the government. Channel 1, Channel 2, Channel 3, and then 4, 5, and 6 is where, are the main Italian channel. Is where everybody see the best movie, the best soccer match. That's is being created and owned by Berlusconi. Just to mention the most famous. Sorry, of the camera.
Oh no.
Jordan, so he has a lot of plus, lots of company, lot of money, business, power. So he had a strange personality. Sometimes it was fun, sometimes was ridiculous, sometimes was not really at the typical person that
Right.
you would imagine as the leader of a country. And every Italian is always been like having fun of him. If you ask Italians, nobody have ever voted for him. He always won. He won 3 times, despite the fact that he had lots of problems with justice, lots of issues with prostitutions, with teenagers, relationship with teenagers, and this is about 80 years old.
Right.
Issues with his companies, and he always won. So I guess that even if today in any Americans I'm talking about say that they will never vote, nobody will vote for Trump, I guess he will win.
Oh, well, Carmelo, thank you.
You're
very
welcome.
much.
It's been a pleasure.
It's been
Let's go for breakfast.
Let's do it.